Science is a never-ending beat of a puzzle and questioning because we are constantly delving deeper to see its essence and the pieces where the origins of various things and perspectives have arisen. As we progress in today's modern world, we can see how our daily tasks have shifted into advanced ones, attributed to the birth of technology and modern breakthroughs. As we explore our world through different lenses, society provides our foundation of humanity and builds our sense of connection in the midst of differences. There are many untold and unsolved stories that lies behind the magnificent upswing of a science and technology. There is still no clear answer to the question of how it blossoms into a magnificent flower, and who are the individuals responsible for the development that distinctly influences and has repercussions in our modern society. Indeed, if you have a light heart, you will not be able to fully appreciate the mysteries and difficulties that our world exposes. Wonderful voyage into the realm of mysteries! Welcome to Scientia's Passageway, a world filled with existential questions, mysteries, and difficulties. Enjoy your sailing trip and uncover the truth.
Hi mga babies! So I'm now wrapping our makeup tutorial for today's video! But wait mga babies! Nakikita nyo ba ang background ko? Nasaan ako mga babies? Kong! Kitlat! Where are you, my love of my life? Hello? Can anyone tell me where I am and what place I am in? It seems that I'm in another eyepiece of the world. Kindly help me. Is anybody present here? I'll give you all of my makeup if you just help me to get out of this place. Tulong!
Please don't be frightened or anxious, lovely Morena lady. Please maintain your composure. If you have the courage, you can leave this unnerving location. Are you unsure of the location of this place? You have entered the Sensorial, a mysterious place full of complexities and unsolved puzzles. But let me remind you that nobody has ever managed to leave this area, and every challenger has been ended up meeting with failure. Brace yourself, young lady. You can leave this location after completing its 3 stations, and you will return home in a safe manner. Here are the rules that you must strictly abide by. First, you must take a trip on the 3 stations. Your task is to listen to the assigned lovely instructor as they will teach you about the 3 earliest civilizations from the prehistoric era. Alongside with that, you will soar into ancient history where you will witness the splendor of all civilizations. Your task is to reflect on each station and show appreciation for it. You must do this after you conclude the tour in order to surpass the 3. Is that clear? Young lady, are you now equipped?
I am more than ready. My Vivi fairy god ugly mother. Oops, sorry, just kidding.
Masyado bastos bibig mong bata ka. Okay, your journey will now begin. My fairy babies will direct you. Wishing you luck and a marvelous journey ahead.
Welcome aboard, lovely lady. You are currently in Station 1, which hold details about the convergence and evidences of science and technology in the context of Sumerian civilization. In Mesopotamia, Tigris, Euphrates, Egypt, Nile, China, Huanghe Valley, and India. The first civilizations developed independently along fertile river valleys. Each civilization's inhabitants established a peculiar way of life, religion, form of government, language, and writing system, as well as arts and crafts and scientific and technological advances in astronomy, agriculture, medicine, mathematics, engineering, and architecture. They established towns and raised domesticated plants and animals. Sumerian civilization, Sumer, Mesopotamia, or Iraq. Sumer was the most southern part of the ancient Mesopotamia, or modern-day Iraq and Kuwait. It was first founded in the area in around 3600 BC and is the birthplace of the oldest known civilization in the world. It is also referred to as one of the first cities in history. Families were transformed into tribes that inhabited territory that quickly developed into towns and later came to be known as the states. Mesopotamia. Mesos means middle, Potamia means river. Country between two rivers. Sumerians. They are the first civilized people that settled in southern Mesopotamia, and it began about 3500 BC. Science and technology development in the lenses of Sumerian civilization. Cuneiform. The first writing system was cuneiform, which was composed of word pictures that were represented by symbols consisting of triangle marks approximately 3100 BC. Cuneiform writing was based on pictograms, which are representations of real objects. Sumerian clay tablet. The history and culture of the Sumerians are recorded on a clay tablet. The use of symbols to record laws and stories developed from record keeping for trade. The concept of the wheel. The concept of the wheel progressed from a mechanical device invented by the Sumerians shortly after 3500 BC. The potter's wheel. This was a large flat disc of hardened clay. To allow the potter to form evenly, it was spun horizontally on an axis. To make a wheel, the Sumerians simply turned this clay splattered wheel on its end and hooked it to a wagon as a practical method of moving heavy objects from one location to another. Sailboat. It was the first ancient Mesopotamian invention 5,000 years ago. Water transportation was needed by the time because Mesopotamia was surrounded by two famous rivers, which are the Euphrates and the Tigris River. First astronomers. The Sumerians are considered to be the first astronomers. They were mapping the movement of the stars, planets, and moons into sets of constellations, many of which survived in the zodiac and were also recognized by the ancient Greeks. Sumerians were also known for building the foundation of logic, mathematics, engineering, architecture, agriculture, transportation, and medicine. Sexagesimal system of counting in units of 60, which serve as the basis of 360-degree circle and the 60-minute hour. Developed systemized a technique of farming. Irrigation and dikes. Sumerians created dikes and irrigation canals to bring water to farmlands and at the same time control offloading of the rivers. Seed plow is another farm technology invented by the Mesopotamians. It is used to dig the ground where seeds would be planted. Wool from sheep made into textiles. Mastered the arts of bleaching and dyeing.
The Sumerian civilization was ascertained through the lenses of science and technology evidence, in a way that it allowed people in antiquity to appreciate its beauty. The first writing system was called cuneiform, and it consisted of word pictures that were denoted by symbols. Sumerian clay tablets are being used to record the accounts of culture and history. In another interpretation of Sumerian concept of a wheel, the Sumerians simply turned this clay-splattered wheel on its end and attached it into a wagon to serve as a functional means of transporting heavy objects from one place to another. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers encircled Mesopotamia at the time of the Sumerian civilization, necessitating the use of water transportation. On the other hand, because they organized the motion of the moon, planets, and stars into group of constellations, many of which are still visible in the zodiac and were also recognized by the ancient Greeks, the Sumerians are regarded as the first astronomers. The foundations of mathematics, engineering, architecture, agriculture, transportation, and medicine were also laid by the Sumerians. The seed plow, another agricultural innovation created by the Mesopotamians, is another development in their farming methods. It is employed to prepare the soil for planting seeds. They are demonstrating their ingenuity by turning sheep's wool into textiles, which will serve as a both source of their income and clothing, while putting pressure on their bodies in a very cold climate. On the other hand, they are also polishing up their bleaching and dyeing techniques, using their knowledge they have gained to increase their capacity for adaptation.
Congratulations, young lady! You have reached the climax of your mission and have turned up at station number 2, where you will discover the beauty of Babylonian and Minoan civilization. Science and technology are clearly apparent on the Babylonian civilization. Babylonia was the ancient region bordering the Tigris and Euphrates River located in Iraq. Babylonian is the capital and serves as commercial and religious center in the Tigris-Euphrates Valley. The development of science and technology was shaped by the following occurrences and individuals. First is Hammurabi, 1792 to 1750 before Christ era. The first leader of the old Babylonian Empire, incorporated the renowned law code that served as a guideline and set the standard for the behavior and attitude in this area. The famous Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the world, and the Ishtar Gate were built by Nebuchadnezzar II, the Neo-Babylonian Emperor, contributed to the advancement of science and technology by cultivating an irrigation system of canals flanked by earthen dikes, entry accounting, multiplication and division tables, and geometric calculations, and embraced the Sumerian sexagesimal system of counting in units of 60, predicted solar and lunar eclipses and other astronomical phenomena quickly and precisely. The progression of science and technology can also be seen through the lenses of Cretan Minoan civilization. It flourished from approximately 2600s to 1400s before Christ era on the island of Crete and other Aegean islands such as Santorini. It was rediscovered in the early 20th century due to the efforts of British archaeologist Arthur Evans. Will Durant made reference to the Minoan civilization as the first link in the European chain. It was an Aegean Bronze Age civilization ruled by King Minos. Knossos was the capital of Crete and the most magnificent Bronze Age palace site, built between 2100s and 1575 before Christ era. Crete is a mountainous island with natural harbors in the Mediterranean Sea, halfway between Turkey, Egypt, and Greece. The development of science and technology was looked upon favorably by the Minoans, who were primarily merchants involved in international trade. From 1700s before Christ era onwards, their culture demonstrates a high level of organization. Numerous historians and archaeologists presume that Minoans participated in the significant tin trade of the Bronze Age. Tin, which was closely intertwined with copper, apparently came from Cyprus. Crete developed into the primary exporter of goods like wine, oil, jewelry, and fine arts. As a result, they also developed into a significant importer of foods and raw materials. They created the world's first ship in the process. But rather than war or conquest, trade was its main objectives. The intricately carved statues, ceramics, frescoes, jewelry, and inscriptions made by the Minoans. They also demonstrate their mastery of mathematics, engineering, and architecture, as well as their use of these disciplines in both scientific and artistic endeavors. They built public gathering spaces, courtyards, well-drained systems, and temples. They were proficient at building ships, stone-paved roads that were formed from blocks, with bronzos connected to the Minoan cities. The upper class had access to water and sewer facilities through clay pipes, and the streets had good drainage. Homes made of sandstones, gypsum, or limestones frequently had flat-tiled roofs and 2 to 3 stories of floors made of plaster, wood, or flagstone. Usually, mud brick was used for the upper walls, and stone and debris for the lower ones. The roofs were held up by ceiling timbers. In addition to farming wheat, barley, lettuce, celery, asparagus, carrots, peas, grapes, pears, figs, olives, and poppies for poppy seed and possibly opium. The Minoans also reared cattle, sheep, and goats. Bees were also tamed by the Minoans. They created Mediterranean polyculture, or the practice of raising multiple crops simultaneously. The population increased as a result of their more varied and healthy diet. Theoretically, this type of farming would protect against low yields in any one crop and maintain the soil's fertility.
In the context summary of science and technology, scientific proof on the Babylonian civilization, Hammurabi incorporated the Re-own Law Code, which functioned as a framework and set the standard for behavior and attitude in this area. The famous Hanging Gardens of Babylon that intrigue many tourists, and they tend to have unquality time to appreciate its beauty, has been established by Nebuchadnezzar II. They contributed to the advancement of technology and science by cultivating an irrigation system of canals flanked by earthen dikes, a bookkeeping system, and other valuable advancement. They also decided to embrace the Sumerian sexagesimal system of tallying in units of 60, anticipated solar and lunar eclipse, and other astronomical phenomena quadruple. The Cretan Minoan civilization's culture shows a high level of organization commencing around 1700 BC. According to a summary of science and technology evidence, many historians and archaeologists believe the Minoans were involved in the Bronze Ages, that is essential in trade. Crete became the primary exporter of goods such as wine, oil, jewelry, and fine art. As a result, they became a substantial importer of food and raw materials. In the process, They built the world's first ship. They are also ornately carved statues, ceramics, frescoes, jewelry, and inscriptions. They created public gathering places, courtyards, well-drainage system, and temples. They were skilled shipbuilders. They are also enthusiastic about farming.
I just wanted to commend you on wrapping up the difficult part of the station too, and you have now arrived at the final station of your mission, where you will uncover the truth behind the science and technology evidence on the Egyptian civilization. The Egyptian civilization depended on the water of the Nile River, in the northeastern part of the African continent where the Egypt is located, which flows through the harsh and dry desert. The Nile River is the center of the civilization. The people during those ancient times were animal hunters and nomadic, meaning they had no permanent home. They were always moving from one place to another, but eventually, their lifestyle then changed and it leaned towards agriculture, mainly focused on extensive irrigation. This practice allowed them to control the rise and the fall of the river to best suit their agricultural needs. Ancient Egyptians learned how to heat metal, bronze, gold, and copper and make utensils and weapons. They are also the first people who learned how to make glass, which was also known as glass blowing. Small pieces of mineral would be finely crushed and mixed with flat ash. The quartz ash mixtures was then heated at fairly low temperature in clay containers to roughly 750 Celsius until it formed a ball of molten mineral. Did you know that they already used paper and inks during those times? They wrote the ink and brushes on paper made of papyrus reeds, but their writings were in the form of pictures or symbols also known as hieroglyphics. They are also have knowledge about the human anatomy, physiology, surgery, and medical plans that enabled them to master the art of embalming their dead, which was mostly known as mummification. Also, one of their inventions and evidence of science and technology during the ancient periods in Egypt is their calendar, that is based on the phases of the moon. Actually, our 24-day comes from the ancient Egyptians who divided daytime into 12 hours as well as the nighttime. They measured with devices such as shadow clock and water clocks. They are also invested in astronomy as they predicted how the stars, especially Sirius the brightest, can help them forecast seasons as well as the annual flooding in the Nile River. Egyptians were also engaged in pottery and they have made of pots, jars, cups, and bowls. Great and monumental evidences that can still be seen today as their scientific expertise are the Giza Acropolis, Great Sphinx, and the ruins of Memphis, and the Valley of the Kings, and these are the focus of archaeological study nowadays. In terms of technology, the ancient Egyptians were able to manufacture beauty and cosmetics. They have made of soap with the scented paste consisting of ash and clay. They produce creams by grinding the natural elements of galena, malachite, and mixing them with the oils and fat until they produce cream. They made oils and ointment with the use of resin, bark from pine trees, cedar trees, and walnut grass. Fun fact, did you know that the shadow clock, or what they call sundial, is used to tell time? It functions by means of the shadow being casted by the object when reflected by the sun.
In the overview of the evidences of science and technology on Egyptian civilization, the people during those ancient days were animal hunters and nomadic, which means they had no permanent home and were always moving from one place to another. But their lifestyle eventually changed and leaned towards agriculture, which was primarily focused on extensive irrigation. The ancient Egyptians managed to learn to heat metals such as bronze, golds, and coppers in order to create utensils and weapons. They were also the first to learn how to blow glass, which was also known as glass blowing. They also wrote on papyrus reed paper with ink and brushes, but their manuscripts were in the form of images and symbols known as hieroglyphics. Correspondingly, they already had a working knowledge of human anatomy, physiology, surgery, and medicinal plants, which helped them perfect the art of mummification, or the embalming of the dead. Their calendar, which is based on the phases of the moon, is another one of their creations, and proof of science and technology during the ancient Egyptian eras. Egyptians also worked with clays to create pots, jars, cups, and bowls. They are also interested in astronomy because they hypothesized that the stars, particularly Sirius, which is the brightest, can aid in season prediction, as well as the annual flooding of the Nile River. Ancient Egyptians had the technology necessary to produce cosmetics and items for beauty.
Salutations, young lady! You finally completed your mission, and I am so delighted on your commitment, perseverance, and hard work. Your rational reflection helped you succeed. Finally, you attain new heights like a phoenix and overcome challenges with greater forthrightness. Before you finally leave this mysterious world, and before I forget, what are your takeaways from our tour and what it means to you?
As I reach the conclusion of this journey, my heart is brimming with happiness. I learned a lot on this journey, including the importance of looking more deeply into the roots of the various things that are currently present in this world, such as science and technology. To fully understand the true significance of the context, it is crucial that you take into account all available evidence.
As a reward for your dedication, you are now permitted to approach your family, and you will return home safely as promised. Until fate takes us apart once again.